It's 5:47 a.m. Spring, 1968. The rain has just stopped at Keith Richards' country estate in West Sussex. Two of the most famous rock stars in the world have been awake for 19 straight hours. They're exhausted, they're broke, and in 6 weeks, they might be in prison. But right now, Mick Jagger is about to ask a question that will accidentally create one of the most recognizable guitar riffs in rock history. What Jagger doesn't know yet is that the heavy footsteps outside his window belong to a gardener named Jack Dyer. What Keith Richards doesn't know is that in less than 2 months, he'll take a pair of wire cutters to a perfectly good guitar and remove one of its strings forever. And what neither of them know is that this moment, right here, right now, will save the Rolling Stones from complete destruction. The question is, can you really change the course of rock and roll by breaking something? February 1967. Keith Richards' phone rings at 7:30 in the morning. It's not his manager. It's not his girlfriend. It's 12 police officers standing outside his front door with a search warrant. The raid at Redlands makes international headlines. The photos are devastating. Mick Jagger in handcuffs, Keith Richards stone-faced in the back of a police car, tabloid headlines screaming about drugs and debauchery. The trial drags on for months. Their reputation is in freefall.
No more will my green sea go turn a deeper blue.
But here's what the public doesn't see. Behind closed doors, the Rolling Stones are falling apart musically too. 10 months after the raid, they release their Satanic Majesty's Request, their attempt to compete with the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's. Psychedelic, orchestral, completely unlike anything they've ever done. The reviews are brutal. Even Brian Jones, their own guitarist, calls it all the acid stuff with visible disgust. Sales are disappointing. Radio won't touch half the tracks. By early 1968, the situation is desperate. They need a hit. They need it fast. And they need to remember who they used to be. But there's a problem. Every time Keith Richards plugs in his guitar, it sounds wrong. Too clean, too polite, too much like everyone else. The Stones built their reputation on being dangerous, raw, unpredictable. Now they sound like they're playing in a hotel lobby. Something has to change, and it's about to. Spring, 1968. Olympic Studios, London. The Rolling Stones have been in the studio for 3 months, and they have almost nothing to show for it. Keith Richards is frustrated. He's tried every amplifier in the building. He's experimented with different guitars, different settings, different rooms. Nothing gives him the sound he's hearing in his head, something raw and electric, but not quite electric. Something that sounds like it's been through hell. Then he looks at the corner of the control room and sees it. A tiny Philips cassette recorder, the kind teenagers use to tape songs off the radio. This is insane, but Keith Richards has always been insane. He takes 2 beat-up acoustic guitars and plugs them directly into the cassette machine. He cranks the input so high that the recording meters slam into the red zone. The tape is literally distorting. Then he plays the distorted recording back through the studio's main speakers. The sound that comes out is unlike anything anyone has ever heard. It's acoustic, but it sounds electric. It's clean, but it's dirty. It's broken, but it's perfect. Richards starts playing around with tunings. He's always been fascinated by open tunings, ways of tuning the guitar so you can play chords with just one finger. But this time, he goes further. He tunes to open E. Then he puts a capo high up the neck. Then he records another guitar part in Nashville tuning, half the strings an octave higher, creating a shimmering, almost celestial overlay. The two parts lock together like gears in a machine. But there's still something missing. The rhythm doesn't quite punch the way he wants it to. So, Keith Richards does what Keith Richards does. He grabs Charlie Watts's floor tom and starts hitting it with his hands between guitar takes. That thumping sound, boom da, becomes the heartbeat of the track. They don't have a song yet. They just have a sound, a feeling, a groove that makes you want to move. And then Mick Jagger hears those footsteps outside the window. Jack Dyer has been working at Redlands for 3 years. He's 62 years old, and he takes his job seriously. Rain or shine, he's out there at dawn, tending to the grounds. He has no idea that two of the most famous people in England are watching him through the bedroom curtains. "What's that noise?" Jagger asks. Richards peeks outside and laughs. "That's Jack, my gardener, Jumpin' Jack." The phrase hangs in the air for a moment. Then Richards picks up his guitar. Within minutes, they have the skeleton of a song. The phrase "Jumpin' Jack Flash" fits perfectly over the riff they've been working on. It's percussive, it's rhythmic, it sounds like footsteps. But more than that, it captures something about the Stones themselves. They've been through hell, drug busts, bad reviews, legal troubles, creative drought. But they're still standing, still jumping, still flashing. "It's a gas, gas, gas," Jagger improvises, and suddenly they have a chorus. In less than 4 hours, they have a complete song. Raw, simple, absolutely magnetic. Everyone in the studio knows they've captured lightning in a bottle. But when they go to play it live, Keith Richards faces a problem. How do you recreate that cassette recorder magic on stage? His solution is radical. Most guitarists spend their entire lives trying to add things to their sound. More strings, more pickups, more effects, more amplifiers. Keith Richards decides to subtract. He takes a pair of wire cutters and removes the lowest string from his Telecaster entirely. Then he tunes the remaining 5 strings to open G, a tuning where you can play a full chord just by laying your finger across all the strings. The missing string creates space, room for the other strings to breathe and ring out. The open tuning makes everything more resonant, more percussive. Suddenly, complex chords become simple. Simple riffs become hypnotic. When he plays Jumpin' Jack Flash with this setup, it doesn't just sound different, it feels different. More urgent, more alive. Other guitarists think he's lost his mind. You don't improve an instrument by removing parts of it. That's like trying to make a car faster by taking out the engine. But Keith Richards has never cared what other guitarists think. And when Jumpin' Jack Flash hits radio in May 1968, the results speak for themselves. May 24th, 1968. Jumpin' Jack Flash enters the UK charts at number 32. 1 week later, it's number 1. The song doesn't just climb the charts, it obliterates them. Radio DJs can't stop playing it. Fans can't stop requesting it. Critics who dismissed the Stones' previous album are suddenly calling this their return to form. But the real test comes on July 5th, 1969. Hyde Park, London. The Rolling Stones are playing their first concert in over 2 years. 2 days earlier, Brian Jones was found dead in his swimming pool. The band is devastated. The future is uncertain. 250,000 people are waiting to see if the Rolling Stones still exist as a functioning band. Keith Richards walks to the microphone, plugs in his 5-string Telecaster, and plays those opening chords. The crowd erupts. White butterflies, released in tribute to Brian, fill the air above the stage. The Stones are back. From that moment forward, Jumpin' Jack Flash becomes more than just a song. It becomes a declaration, a statement of survival, a proof of life. By 1970, guitar magazines are calling it Keef tuning. Music stores report a run on wire cutters as young guitarists try to recreate Richards' 5-string setup. Open G tuning, once an obscure technique used by Delta blues players, becomes a standard part of rock guitar vocabulary. Aretha Franklin records a version for a Whoopi Goldberg movie. Tina Turner makes it a staple of her live shows. Johnny Winter turns it into a slide guitar showcase. But the real impact is deeper than covers and tributes. Jumpin' Jack Flash proves that sometimes innovation doesn't come from adding complexity. It comes from stripping everything down to its essence. The song rewrites the rules about what a guitar can be, what a riff can do, what happens when you break something instead of trying to fix it. October 19th, 2023. The Racket Club, New York City. 650 seats, sold out in minutes. The Rolling Stones, now in their 70s and 80s, are about to play their first club show in decades. Keith Richards, 79 years old, walks on stage carrying the same 5-string setup he's been using for 55 years. His fingers find those familiar chords. The crowd, packed with celebrities who paid thousands of dollars for tickets, goes absolutely insane. Throughout 2024, as the Stones play massive stadium shows across America, Jumpin' Jack Flash remains the song that either opens or closes every single concert. The riff still works, the energy still connects, the missing string still lifts entire crowds off their feet. But here's what's remarkable. In an age of digital effects and computer-generated sounds, Jumpin' Jack Flash was created using the most primitive technology imaginable. A cassette recorder, an acoustic guitar, a capo, a missing string. The lesson is simple but profound. Sometimes the most powerful innovations come not from what you add, but from what you take away. Jack Dyer, the gardener whose footsteps inspired one of the greatest rock songs ever written, died in 1987. He never knew that his early morning walk to work had changed music history. Keith Richards still plays Jumpin' Jack Flash almost every night. The 5-string Telecaster, nicknamed Macabre, is now one of the most famous guitars in rock and roll. Custom guitar builders still get requests for exact replicas. The song has been streamed over 400 million times on Spotify alone. It's been covered by hundreds of artists across every genre imaginable. It's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's list of 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. But the deeper question remains, what else are we missing by holding on to the way things are supposed to be? What would happen if more people had the courage to cut the string? What other innovations are waiting to be discovered, not by adding something new, but by removing something old? In a world that constantly tells us that more is better, Jumpin' Jack Flash stands as a monument to the power of less. One missing string, 56 years of electricity. The gardener's footsteps echo still. If this riff rewired the way you hear rock, share the story, hit subscribe, and join us next time as we discover the next broken rule that changed music forever.